Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. We're live. We have a special guest, a good brother who's always on the show. I'm about to bring him in and I'll let him introduce himself to you. Let me share the screen. Hold on one second, brother. There you are. Tell the people who you are. Can you hear me? Are you there?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I just want
Can
the
you hear
people
me?
to, yes, we hear you very loud and clear. Tell the people, first of all,
I'm
introduce
here.
yourself. Introduce yourself, and then we'll go into the news and the politics of the day. Go ahead. I wonder if I know we're having some problems with this. Can you still hear me?
Brother Rashid the Star. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Yes, sir. Brother Rashid, there's a lot going on today.
I can hear you, but you're going in and out.
All right, let's see. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me now? Maybe it's you, not me. Okay. Can you hear me? Say something. Say something.
I can barely hear you.
All right. Okay, hold on one second. You know, every time I do this live stream and stuff, we have these problems. Hold on.
Move this phone around. Can you see me now? Hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me clear? So, here we are. We're having problems. We're having
You there?
problems right now. Yeah, I'm here. Let me remove you from the stream and bring you back
You're
in.
going in and
Am I in now? Huh? Let
want me
me
to
know
log
if you
out and
can
come
hear.
back in?
No, let me know if you can hear me. We're having problems. Here we go. All right.
Want me to log out and come back in?
Are you there now? Man, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy the way. I hear you fine. So listen, we have live people here. For those of you who are listening, we are having technical problems. Stay with us for a second. Rashid, talk to the people about the news. If you can hear me, talk to the people about the news. I'm going to mute myself, and then we'll see if we can correct this problem. Okay? All right. I guess he can't hear me. Hold on. Everyone, hold on one second. So we're back. Okay. Here we are. We want to apologize for everyone who's listening and who will listen. Every time we do a live stream or every time we try to upload something, call it bad karma or something, our mics are muted, our mics are turned on, and then while we're speaking, they're turned off. Then the guests get abruptly cut off, or I get abruptly cut off, or something like that. A lot of this continues to go on, but that is the telltale sign of a very thorough, in-depth, and enlightening show. Now I see Rashid Nasser back in the queue. I'm going to bring him in just a second, but I wanted to say something to you that I was saying to you when they muted my microphone. Okay, so there's a lot of news going on today, but I want to address a few. I got a lot of emails. If you want to email me, you can email me at hiram1555@yahoo.com. That's hiram1555@yahoo.com. Now, one emailer wanted to know, was the email name any significance or whatever. So yes, I want to say the reason it is Hiram 1555 because we believe that Hiram or Hiram Abiff is symbolically black people here in America. Also, we were not brought here in 1619 or 1620 or 1621, as some of the books tell you. We were actually brought here in a 64-year dehumanizing stage in 1555. So that has everything to do with that stuff right there. And now another emailer wanted to ask me a question about why didn't the Red Pill Diaries address the Asian shooting the little boy, the little black boy. So first of all, I'm one person. Rashid is one person, and we have a lot of things to do, and we address a lot of stuff. But I'll bring in Rashid, and we'll go from there because I don't want him to be in the background. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, bro.
Okay. Now, if you want to take this ball and you can go for it, what do you think about the issue of with the Asian man shooting the black kid through his window? First, and I may add, the black kid said that the Asian man came out there first and tried to hit him with a sledgehammer, but the little kid said he was too fast, and so the guy went back in the house, and next thing you know, he shot through the window, and the black kid did not even know that he was hit until the other kids told him, you're bleeding. What do you have to say about that? And what do you see? Why is that taking place?
This is the first time I've heard about it, bro. But as me and another brother was talking about, this is the reason why Allah would have said he separated the sons of Adam. This is the reason why people got to be separated. The Chinese were sent over to China. Japanese is Japanese. The black man in Africa. The red or the so-called Indians were here, and the white man was in Europe. That's what Allah did for them in the beginning. Once you separate, when you around your own people, you get along much better. And what the white man did when he came out of Europe is going to mix everybody all together. This is the reason why you're going to have strife.
Okay. So Rashid is telling you, and like what he said, a lot of stuff we get so much, especially me, I get so much information, so much news, and I have to address so many things, and I have to do articles every day, and I have to do Patreon. So a lot of times I get a lot of news before it comes out or in passing, and I have to do the things that I've already had on my list. So I apologize that we didn't address that when we addressed it, because there's so many more pressing issues that pertain to the safety of your lives and your family lives, especially with the situation that is going on and evolve. Because a lot of people don't understand this. Let me say this. A lot of people don't understand this. I remember I was dealing with a guy, and I was telling him about the situation that was taking place in the Middle East. And I was telling him about the blow up of, at that time, of Russia and America and China. And he asked me this. He said to me in almost an angry voice, he said, I don't care about what's going on over there. Won't you talk about what's going on my block? He didn't understand the significance of what was taking place over there and how it has a direct effect on what's taking place on each and everybody's block here in America. Like, He doesn't understand that the economic flare-up between China and America, and the political flare-up between China and America using what little resources that she has to invest in war and weapons and military bases is a direct effect on his job, his pay, the livelihood of his family, because people, when you look at America, her foreign policy is a mirrored image of her domestic policy, and that's something that gets left out. What do you say about this before I go any further? Because I don't want to hog this. I got you on here today, and I don't want to hog the show. I want you to give your opinion on certain things,
Well, as you said, this is a global thing. When God came in the past and destroyed a little town, a little village, a little region, this is the entire world. The Quran say that evil is spreading far and wide. This got to be a global thing to bring down the man of sin. The man of sin is controlling everybody around the planet. And to sit up there and say that, well, I want to find out what's happening with my block. Your block is, and what the white man said, this is a global thing. Mm-hmm. That what affects China affects us. It's like this so-called pandemic. You can't cut it off on one and say, well, okay, nobody come on my block and everything will be all right. This thing affected the entire world. And for somebody to sit up and say that, it just says that he's not too wise. That's what it tells me. Not too wise. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the man of sin got to be brought down. The white man of America is controlling everybody with his economic power. All that's got to be broken. And like you said before, what affects the over in China, Russia, and all that stuff coming here. The man said, if you see it over there, it's coming here. Even the wars of the Middle East. This man is fighting to stay on top. He's fighting for his life. He's fighting for his rule. So if the other countries turn against his rule, then he's up. His money is not worth anything, is it? It's just a bunch of paper. And when somebody stops taking this bunch of paper, then what are you gonna get in to come into America? 93% of all of the goods that go into Walmart come from China.
Right. And don't forget,
China stop accepting his money, then
don't forget.
You saying, bro?
I said, don't forget that their microchips, their compressors, all of these things, these major components that go in their airplanes, the rare earths that the United States need, all of that stuff, all of those components are produced in China and they're assembled in the United States. A lot of people are not aware of that. And this, it doesn't make sense for America to sanction, but you have to understand that America has been the big boy on the block for the longest. And all she knows is how to rule. And when someone challenges her or rises up against her, especially in a time where she's in decline, what do you think she's going to do? All you have to do is look at the history and the stories of bullies in your neighborhood, bullies, school bullies, block bullies, neighborhood bullies. It's the same thing. Whenever their power or their grip on power or their grip on what they deem as theirs is threatened, they resort to name calling, and they become the victim. Even though they are the aggressors, they become the victim, and the victim becomes the aggressor, and then they are preparing themselves for a fight. And this is what we see going on. I'm want to play something because if this video is on YouTube, YouTube gives us strikes every time we blink our eyes, and removes. They removed my channel from YouTube 2 or 3 times. They've suspended me. They stopped giving me 1 strike. They started giving me 2 strikes at a time. So I have to play this. It's about a 16-second clip. I want to play this 16-second clip so that when I do play clips, that this right here will precede any of that, so that we don't have any copyright infringement issues or anything that YouTube can use to stop the channel or to stop everything. But let me say this, brothers and sisters, and everyone who's listening, go sign up to the Patreon. That's patreon.com/ all one word, The Red Pill Diaries. Go there, $3 a month. You get breaking news. We've put out multiple articles this week about the situation that's going on in Iran and in the Middle East, the situation that's going on between America and China, the situation that's going on between America, NATO, Europe, and Russia. And we going into so many aspects of it because we're getting it right from the sources that are close to it. And we also want to send a rest in peace to Professor Dennis Etler. I want to say that. I should have said that at the beginning, but we were having technical difficulties. So rest in peace to Professor Dennis Etler, who was a frequent person on this show. And so his presence will be missed because he gave me a lot of information behind the scene about the situation with China and America. But let me play this clip. We're going to come back on the other side of this clip. We're going to talk. I'm going to ask Brother Rashid a few things, and then I got to play something that goes in line with what he has been saying about America and how she deals with other nations, okay? So don't be mad. Just be patient. Now we're back. So with that disclaimer, we should be able to play a few things, but I'm going to play that disclaimer several times because I know how YouTube goes against my channel and how my stuff is suppressed and my subs get unsubbed and all of this stuff. So I already know about that. So I have to take every precaution, okay? So don't think harsh of me when you see me playing this over again. But we were just talking about how the bully acts, especially when the bully feels threatened or his grip or her grip on power or influence is threatened. I'm going to play something for you, and then it's a short clip. And on the other side of that, I want your response and your reaction to this, okay? So here we go.
Now, America has been named the world's biggest threat to democracy, despite being touted as its supposed beacon. A poll conducted by the Alliance of Democracies Foundation placed it above China and Russia. The organisation was founded by Anders Fogh Rasmussen, the former NATO Secretary-General. Well, more than 50,000 people from 53 countries took part in the survey, 44% of whom agreed Washington's influence was a threat. China came second and Russia was third on the list. All the same, though, the US Secretary of State, along with his British counterpart on Monday, singled out Beijing and Moscow as malign influences.
We're responding to a situation where our values are being challenged. The international architecture is, at least in some respects, being weakened.
Together, our two countries recently took measures to prevent British and American businesses from inadvertently supporting forced labor in Xinjiang and elsewhere in China. We'll continue our robust cooperation to address the atrocities in Xinjiang, a crackdown on pro-democracy activists and politicians in Hong Kong, which breaches China's international commitments, and the repression of media freedom across China and in other parts of the world. I also want to thank the United Kingdom for joining us in holding Russia to account for its reckless and aggressive actions.
Historian and author Gerald Horne says, though, that public support for Washington's power plays is on the wane, including in Europe.
People across the globe are not naive, and they come to the simple conclusion that the United States is the bully on the block. Obviously, they're seeking to launch a new Cold War, not only against China, but against China and Russia combined. It's part of the psychological makeup of those who rule the United States to be the leading country on planet Earth, and they see that now eluding their grasp, and so they want to take down China by any means necessary. And there's also opposition to Russia because Russia will not go along with this new Cold War against China. I think that poll result suggests that it will be difficult to launch that new Cold War because international public opinion is not only hostile to the idea, but I think in Europe in particular, there is a gnawing and growing realization that the United States would like to fight China and Russia to the last European. And I don't think the Europeans are sufficiently naive to go for that bad bargain.
So we're back on that side now. There's some significant things that were said in this video, in this report, and they talked about how America and Britain says that that the international order has been weakened, right? And I want you to understand what that means. I've talked to several knowledgeable, I should say, and well endowed mentally scholars, professors, and scientists behind the scenes. And I've also had numerous conversations with Professor Kevin Barrett, and he agrees with my take on what they're talking about when they say the international order. As a matter of fact, Professor Dennis Etler, may rest in peace, he agreed, and others that I've had and that will be coming on the show agreed with my assessment of this. The international order that they're talking about is a Western or a white-dominated order. This is the truth. This has everything to do with Europe and America dominating politics, economics, trade, everything. And when someone rises up to challenge that, the number one power, the pillar of Western hegemony or white power globally, listen to me good, globally, is America. So she jumps up, and now Britain is one of the main beneficiaries, because remember that America still hasn't fully shaken off all of the shackles of when America was a British colony, right? So in this, he said, weaken some institutions or weaken, and they use these key words like values and democracy. Now, mind you, in the same clip, it was about how the world sees America and the rest of the nations. And they saw America as the greatest threat to democracy. Isn't that something? I'm saying, I mean, I cannot make this stuff up. This is crazy. The thinking of the British Empire and the American Empire on how they always talk about the international community, where, and in fact, they only talk about Europe and America and Australia. They do not talk about that 70 to 80% of the population of the planet that they exclude from the international community, which is crazy. Before I go further, let me bring Rashid in, because he was cut off. I'm gonna add him to the stream. What do you say about this?
The same thing, brother. That he hollering about that he has a world community, and what he about 10%, 5 or 10% of the world. He only think about white-dominated countries. And he was given that power to rule. And now his rule is coming to an end. And he's very angry. Like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, you cannot blame a man that's ruling, that's riding a horse. You cannot expect him to get off and walk. And so America ain't gonna get off and walk. I was listening to some on RT the other day when he was talking about, can America take a backseat to China? Absolutely not. You don't want to be no second fiddle. He got to rule at all costs. He was given dominion over the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, and everything that creeps and walks on the earth. And to sit up and allow somebody else to take get on the seat of rulership? Absolutely not. He ain't gonna accept that. But now his rule, see, this is the whole crux of it is his rule is coming to an end. Western hegemony is ended. And like you said,
say that again. You break it up. Say that again. Say that again.
He's ready to go. And said, if I had a friend of mine said, if he cannot rule, he blow the planet up. And that's the way he's thinking. If I cannot rule, he gonna kill everybody. If we didn't have a savior.
We lost Rashid. Hopefully he'll be back in. But I just want to say, let's go to something. While he is lost, I told you every time we do the show, there's some technical glitches that appear. No matter who I have as a guest, no matter what their perspective is, there's some glitches that often go along with the show. But I'm gonna You're back. You're back. We had glitches. We didn't hear half of the stuff you said. It froze you, and before it froze you, there was echoing and stuff like that. So keep your thought for a minute. I want to address something real quick. Keep your same thought frame of thought. Now, it was something that he said about addressing their values, right? And he says, now we know what the value of the Western world, what values that the Western world love. They value economics, they value power, they value domination, they value rulership. There's no honest person who will listen to this show or who is listening to the show that cannot say that the Western world does not want to dominate the world. Why do you think they made the alliance NATO? The North Atlantic Terrorist Organization, because they are terrorizing the world. Anyone that will threaten their perception or their perspective of things, they don't want to talk about it. They want to war about it. Anything. And that's the whole thing. And a lot of people cannot, in America, a lot of people cannot come to grips with the reality that the Western world views everybody else as also rans. That's why when they refer to Europe and they refer to Australia and they refer to America, they refer to them as first world nations.
Also Canada.
Yeah, and Canada, yeah. And but when they're dealing with other nations, they call them second, third, and fourth world nations. This is an underhanded jab at non-white worlds. Now, I'm going to get into something about what he said, and I want to address something that is going on in Europe, okay, about this so-called migrant crisis. We're going to address that because this will hit home. And for those of you who are Caucasian, who are white, who are listening to the show, who will listen to the show, what I'm going to say may hurt your feelings, but it is absolutely the truth, and you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to suck it up. You're going to have to deal with it, okay, about this migrant crisis. But in this that we just listened to, they talked about America as being the global bully. First, one must understand what a bully is. And before they even talked about it, I addressed that as being a bully. But in this clip that we played, they talked about America being a bully. And according to the definition, the dictionary says the word bully means a person who habitually seeks to harm or intimidate those whom they perceive as vulnerable. Stop right there. Let's see if that holds any weight with America. America offered Muammar Gaddafi, Great Britain offered Muammar Gaddafi to be a part of the first world if he disarmed, right? As soon as it was verified that he disarmed, they didn't want to talk to him no more. He was a terrorist, and they attacked him. Now let's go back. Iraq. They wanted to verify that Saddam Hussein did not have any weapons capable of stopping what they had planned. And once it was verified, what happened? They attacked. And now they have Iran, and they're trying to put in weapons inspectors to keep Iran from getting a. Now think about this. They're raising sand about one nuclear weapon.
Nuclear weapon.
America has thousands. Russia has thousands. Israel has hundreds. Great Britain has hundreds. France has hundreds. And they're making a big stink about Iran having one.
You know the reason why that is, don't you, brother? Because if Iran get a nuclear weapon, that'll put them on the same level as them. Then they can't bomb it. Right?
And so this is my point about the bully. Let's go back to this definition because this is something that really needs to be looked at. A person who habitually, that means over and over and over and over. You see the pattern in them over and over and over. Let's see if this is true. Didn't they overthrow Aristide in Haiti when he told the Western world, listen, I understand what you're doing, but Haiti is sitting on a lot of untapped wealth. And what I'm going to do is use this wealth. I'm not going to give it to the Western corporations. I'm going to make deals with you when it's beneficial for the Haitian people so that I can raise my people out of poverty. What did Bill Clinton do? They kidnapped him, didn't they? They kidnapped a sitting president and flew him out of Haiti and made him sign a deal that he could not enter politics for 15, 20, 30 years, or else he would be killed. Now, let's see if they did that. What does that bring to mind? Hugo Chavez.
Yeah.
Didn't they kidnapped a sitting president, Hugo Chavez, and the people uproar was so strong that they had to not only return Aristide to Haiti, but they had to return Hugo Chavez to Venezuela unharmed, or the people said that they would destroy everything Western in Venezuela.
Anything or any person that helps his people is an enemy to America.
What did they do?
If you're doing good for your people and you're not turning over your country to the global financial criminals, crooks, yeah, that's what they are. If you're not turning over your country then you're an enemy. And we got to attack. And the way he likes to attack is if you disarm.
Yeah.
If you got no arms, now it's time to attack. But if you got arms, then I ain't gonna too fast to attack them.
Yeah. But look, what did he do to Argentina? He collapsed the Argentine economy, trying to get rid of Cristina Kirchner, who was the president at the time. And she came back as president. Now she's back as vice president. They tried to get her in a corruption probe because she was trying to assert Argentine sovereignty against American and European imperialism. And she wanted back the Malvinas Islands from Britain. And also, let's look at the Lula of Brazil. He enjoys 80% of the public trust. When he turned east to Russia and China and became a strong component of the BRICS organization, America used some of the people that she had trained that were in the Brazilian military to overthrow, and used a crook who was wanted in Lebanon and put him as the president of Brazil and put the Lula in jail. Now the People's Uproar has released, they have released the Lula, and they did a poll, the Western people did a poll that says there would be no use for anyone challenging the Lula for the presidency because he would garner no less than 82% of the people's vote. Now let's go to something else.
It's the same thing with Assad. What does Assad get? 95% of the vote, right?
95. Yeah, and the Carter Institution verified it.
Yeah, 95%. What did he say? Donald Trump was elected with 27%.
Yeah. So.
And he's still hollering about that he was cheated.
So we look at the word habitual. So we can see this habitual. We look at what's going on in North Africa, something that most people don't talk about. France, Canada, yes, Canada, France, Canada, the former colonial nations of Europe and America are all working, overthrowing governments to put in play people who will be more subservient to the Western policies and Western corporations. That's one of the reasons they got rid of Yahya over in the Gambia, because he said he was not allowing homosexuality over there with the West. He said, the West, you can keep that. He didn't want the West way of life. He said, you can keep
values, the Western values.
Yeah, values. He said, and he was not going to allow the Western corporations to come in there and rape the people. They overthrew him. He was a general at one time. They overthrew him, and he would not leave because he had the strong backing of the people. So what they did, they offered a deal: either you're gonna leave or we're gonna kill you and your family. And as soon as he left, they demonized him and said he stole the wealth of the country. Isn't that something? I mean, this is a habitual. Habitual means something that's over and over and over and over again. And we see that in all of the policies of America. If you stand up for right, if you stand up to be a true sovereign nation or a sovereign government, you stand to catch the ire or the anger of the Western colonial powers who are trying to dominate. I mentioned something just a second ago that I want you to be familiar with, and I want you to go look this up. In the northern horn of Africa, in the northern part of Africa, the former colonial nations are now in concert together, trying to strengthen each other's hand so that they can prevent North Africa from breaking free of colonialism. So they're overthrowing governments. They're destabilizing governments. They're paying off military officials to institute coups and overthrows. And then they stand back, and unless there's pressure, then they won't say anything. And then when there's pressure, they'll say publicly one thing, and behind closed doors they'll do another thing. And this is because of the thing that went on. They had a survey done, and Africa is North Africa too is sitting on way more untapped natural resources, gas, oil, all of the precious minerals and ores, and an abundant store of water, abundant store of underground water. And the Western world wants this stuff because we see how the droughts are gripping the world today. And what you're looking at is water wars, which brings me back to something when I told you about how they overthrew Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Not only was that about stopping the African unity under a single currency and single economy, but that was also to do with the large amount of water that was discovered under the Libyan desert. What Muammar Gaddafi did, he invested billions into underground pipes and underground aquifers. He had a plan. You can go look at his manifesto. You can go look at the Green Book, all of this stuff. He had a plan. And what he was going to do is he was going to share that water with his African neighbors. And they were going to turn what was considered desert parts of their nations into agricultural farmland that will free Africa and secure Africa's food supply, which would cut off Western plans to sanction or to keep certain products from the people, which overthrow governments. That's what happened to Mubarak. America sanctioned Mubarak, even though he was one of their lackeys. America sanctioned, and overnight the wheat prices went up, and the people were out on the street protesting, and that contributed to the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi. Look what they did to our great brother, the great lion of Africa. May he rest in peace. The Honorable Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, as he went to institute farm laws and to give back land ownership to the people and to the ancestors of those people who were raped and robbed of those lands. Britain, America, and the rest of the European countries destroyed the Zimbabwean dollar on purpose. On purpose. They sanctioned it because at one time, if you do your math, the Zimbabwe dollar stood at the same parity of the American dollar. And after the sanctions were introduced, they started breaking the economy down where Zimbabwe could not get the farm utensils that they needed, the farm equipment that they needed. And this is what put the country into a tailspin. It's not that the black people couldn't farm independently. It's that the white nations were banning the farm equipment from coming to Zimbabwe. And they were banning all that because, mind you, I want to pose something to you. If 98% of farm hands in Zimbabwe, the people who till the ground, who plant, who check on the plants, who reap the stuff, who put it in storehouses are black, why would it be any different if those same people own the land that they were doing? Huh? The only thing that you could think of is that there were sanctions. The Western world was trying to destroy the independence of Robert Mugabe's government. And they found it in the end with one of his friends who was jealous of his power. But we'll talk about that later. So immediately when Robert Mugabe was removed from power, his predecessor, the person, not his predecessor, I'm sorry, the person that came to office after him, Mnangagwa, I believe that's his name, Mnangagwa, repealed the Land Act, the Land Repatriation Act that Mugabe instituted. Why was that? Because the Western world said that we would lift certain sanctions off you, and we would also lift sanctions off your government if you repeal these reform acts that gave the land back to the original inhabitants of the land, right? See, habitual. We have to look at this. Habitual means over and over and over again. So no matter what country you point to, whether it's in Africa or Asia, or whether it's in South or Central America or the Caribbeans, or even whether it's in Europe or North America, if you step out of line with the American empire, something happens, right? You get a color revolution. You get a coup. Did you know that in North Africa, these coups that are going on right now, did you know that the people who are instituting these coups were trained by American, British, French, Canadian, German, Belgium, and other European special forces? Some of them even went to the schools of the Americas. Did you know that? You don't get that in the news, do you? You don't get that understanding. But again, we know that Rashid was knocked off the air again. See, I told you we go through this all the time. But we try to give you good news. So let's go back to this word bully. As we look to describe and look at America's actions so that we can see whether or not she is the root cause of global instability. Because the word bully means a person who habitually seeks to harm or intimidate those whom they perceive as vulnerable. They perceive that the Chinese economy was vulnerable, not in financing, right? But they hit the Chinese economy where it hurt the most, in the thing that they were lacking, the chip processing part. They didn't go dollar for dollar or dollar for yuan. They didn't go against the trade. They didn't go against the manufacturing. They went against the part that China was vulnerable in, right? I'm just telling you the truth. What did they do with Russia? They knew that Russia's economy at the time was mostly reliant on the sale of oil and gas, which is, I think it's like a 40, 60 or 50 or something like that now. But at one time, I think 80 to 70 to 80% of the Russian budget was reliant on oil sales and gas sales. What did they do? They hit the oil market, right? They made oil plummet. They made the gas plummet, right? And what did they do? And what are they doing? They are sanctioning Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, right? They are hitting you where you are vulnerable. That's what the word bully means. Listen, a person who habitually seeks to harm or intimidate those whom they perceive as vulnerable, right? They did not perceive China to be vulnerable with her currency because China stood toe to toe. They did not perceive China to be vulnerable in her manufacturing capacity because China is the manufacturer to the globe. They did not hit China, right, in the areas of her economy where she dominates the globe at. They hit her in the one weak spot where she needs Western help, and that is the processing chips. You notice that? So I'm laying out something to you so that you can see and that you can understand, okay? Rashid, I'll bring you back in a minute, but we're going to finish with this bully. And this part, it says that part is a noun. Now it goes to a verb. It says, seek to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone perceived as vulnerable. What did the administration of Joe Biden say to the Middle Eastern nations, the Asian nations, and the European nations about a week and a half ago? Did they warn them not to do trade with China? Didn't they warn them that? They said that it would have ramifications with trade with the United States. What is that? That is coercion, right? I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just running this by you. So, with that being said, right, now they're acting provocatively. And I want you to hear this clip. I haven't heard this clip yet, but I want you to hear it with me, okay? Because we have to understand what is going on. As I'm talking about China, and I'm talking about economics, and I'm talking about trade, and I'm talking about sanctions, all of these things that America is enacting are to her detriment. because nations are now moving away from her dollar. Did you know a few weeks ago or a few months ago, I might be mistaken whether it was a few weeks or a few months, a few weeks ago or a few months ago, that America had a bond sale, a dollar sale? Did you know that no one bought her dollar, her debt? Did you know that? Did you know that she went back and did it again? And for the second time in a row, nobody bought her bonds? Did you know the person that did buy her bonds or her debt? You know who that was? It was the Fed. That is tantamount to the crack dealer buying his own crack and smoking it and telling everybody that he's moving product. You understand? So what I'm giving you today is a dose of reality. We're going to start doing more live streams. We're going to start, whether it's no people in the building or 2 people in the building or 7 people or 70 people. We know that people get disconnected, and we know that the real amount doesn't show to you, and we know that sometimes they half out the amount. I mean, I don't care nothing about that. Long as the truth gets out, man, it could be 0 people in here. If it touches 100 people by the end of the year, we good. We good. And that's the way I look at it, because what's going on today is with American policy is driving the world to war. It is driving the world to war, regardless of whether you are the most patriotic American in the world. Is Russia flying her warplanes over America's territorial waters? Is Russia selling her ships in American waters for freedom of navigation? Is China doing that? No. Who is doing that? Huh? It's America. Who is sanctioning everybody? It's America. Do you know this is alienating her with the rest of the world? Do you know that? This is why over 60, I believe now the number is somewhere to 80 countries. I could be wrong, but it's between 60 and 80 countries now that are now doing credit swaps with China. Do you know that they're doing bilateral trade agreements with China? Do you know these nations are now accepting the yuan over the dollar or the renminbi? The Chinese currency can be referred to as the renminbi or the yuan. Do you know that? Do you know? Matter of fact, let me see if I can. I'm going to bring something up with you guys in just a few minutes if I can find it. But I want you to see this right here, okay? And then we'll go into something later. Just listen to this.
Portable TV. Come watch with me. Mr. Maloof, you spend most of your time when you worked at the Pentagon trying to create the strategies that work for the United States. Is it a correct strategy to do what we're doing by isolating China in particular, which, as you just heard Ed Martin say, he agrees with?
I don't think so, but I think what the G7 and plus countries such as India, Australia, South Korea, which were also invited, by the way, this time, are going to be talking about or are going to be undertaking is what is now going to be called the Blue Dot Network. It's going to be a response to the Belt and Road Initiative by China. China is the unspoken monster in that room that's sitting there. And even though they're going to talk about COVID and a few other things, China is going to loom large in any planning and further discussions that are going to be underway. China is going to be the big challenge economically, militarily, and all those countries know it. And this is in the wake of the fact that they've got to recover economically themselves from the COVID, and they're not there yet, even though they've seen China steam full speed ahead in the previous months.
Alex, you do a lot of coverage on China, and since we're deep into this China discussion, what I find curious is that the United States and the West wanted to partner up with China, help the poor Chinese when they were a very poor country. Now that they're asserting their dominance economically in the world, we seem to be wanting to not want to partner up, not want to help, not want to even assist, and we almost sound like we want to go to war with them. Can you put that in perspective for us?
Well, the question is who's asserting their dominance here? I mean, it's the United States that's floating its military boats next to China through the Taiwan Strait. It's the United States that just committed $5 billion to moving military assets, including satellite systems and missile systems, closer to China. That's what they're thinking of doing. It's the United States that broke its own agreement with China and sending diplomats on military planes to Taiwan, breaking, the one China policy. Basically, it's a complete affront to China. China's not sailing boats next to Los Angeles. I haven't heard that story yet. And everybody's talking about what China's doing. Well, yes, China's taking advantage of a very good situation. It's the Belt and Road, it's a fantastic project. Why not? Every country wants to boost its own economy. Second of all, China saw gaps. It saw gaps in places like Serbia, which the West turned its back to, and then it jumped in. It saw gaps like in places like Greece, where the economy fell apart. Did the EU help? No. Did the states help? No. Who helped? China helped by building infrastructure, by building their ports, and by helping these countries. So ask people in those parts of the world what they think about China, this whole G7 push, and especially, I mean, we have to face facts here. It's the U.S. that is pushing the G7 to push China. It seems to be just a situation where the U.S. is very desperate, and we know empires do change, and it looks like we are in a paradigm shift right now.
Let me
So as you heard, that America is very desperate, and she's forcing other nations to do what she wants them to do. And she's trying to force other nations' policies to match her policies so that she can prevent the rise of a peer or someone who will surpass her. What is that? A bully. A person who habitually seeks to harm or intimidate those whom they perceive as vulnerable. Who do they perceive as vulnerable? The Europeans, right? So they are forcing them to do something that is against their own economic security. They're forcing them to do something that is against their own political security and military security. This is what they're doing. That is a bully. They're someone who seeks to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone perceived as vulnerable. Is that not what they're doing? If you don't do this, we'll sanction you. And then we'll overthrow your government because we have assets in every government around here. That is a telltale sign of a bully. So something was said, and I'm going to address it. And he talked about the America wanted to be the one. I think Malouf was talking about how America wanted to be the center of the global economy or something like that. And so she's offering her Blue Dot Network to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative. Now, there's something you need to know about that. The Blue Dot Network is only to reinforce American and British hegemony around the world. It is only to try to stabilize, because the Western world is collapsing. It's trying to stabilize a collapsing bridge, with just putting braces on the bridge instead of doing a real appraisal of the entire bridge and taking the bridge down piece by piece and hoping somebody can build a stronger structure. That's all the Blue Dot is. China's Belt and Road Initiative, with all of the negative press that it gets in the Western media, is connecting continents together and financing. Now, this is a big thing. Say, for instance, America's Blue Dot Initiative get some backers. How are they going to push it through? They don't have any financing. America in the Western world is broke, and they finance everything through deficit spending, where they're projecting debt on future generations. I'm asking you these things because with all of that, no one takes the time to look at this. But again, they said that America, right, she is the engine of global growth. She's the center of the global economy. This is what they said. All right. Now, the NPR.org talks about a powerful U.S. growth set to lift global economy, right? This was written April 6, 2021, right? But it's something with that, all right? They are saying that that is propaganda. Listen to me good. Because prior to that, let us look at Reuters, okay? I'm going to bring it to the screen for you to see so that you'll see what I'm saying. Give me a second. Let me share this. And Rashid, I'll bring you back in just a second. Okay. Give me 1 second. Reuters. Here we are. I got it. Now, in this, all right, we are looking at what Reuters wrote. See, they write so much, they talk so much, they tell on themselves, and then they try to backtrack on everything that they say. Okay? But we're looking at what Reuters says, right? And Reuters says China, and now listen to this. This was dated 2 years ago, November 5th, 2019. Before the flare-up, even before the big flare-up of what? COVID-19. Is that not right? And we all know that since the flare-up of COVID-19, the global economy has gone into a tailspin. The American economy has gone into a tailspin. The European economy has gone into a tailspin. And they say the only economy on earth that has positive growth is the Chinese economy. We heard that last month. We heard that month before last and month before that. But Reuters says this in 2019, November 5th. China has replaced the U.S. as locomotive of global economy. Right? It says, and this was written in London, England, the capital of the British Empire and the head of the global financial order. Not New York, not New York. I know some of you think that New York it's not. London, because the London Gold Exchange is number one. Okay? Here it says, China has replaced the United States as the engine of the global economy, providing by far the largest contribution to growth in recent years and pulling along the world's smaller economies in its train. Stop right there. What's so significant about that? Because America is trying to sell the smaller nations and other nations her Blue Dot program that burdens them with debt. You know, the stuff that she said that China is burdening other nations with her Belt and Road Initiative or the BRI. But according to Reuters, the Belt and Road Initiative is actually lifting up the economies of the other nations who join just by the gravity of being in China's economic sphere. You know how we talk about the moon and the earth's magnetic pulls against each other, because they're in each other's sphere, or the moon is in the earth's sphere, right? Well, these nations who would otherwise be in the dumps economically are growing. This is according to Reuters. Listen what Reuters say. I'm going to read that paragraph again. China has replaced the United States as the engine of the global economy, providing by far the largest contribution to growth in recent years and pulling along the world's smaller economies in its train. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it. We'll go further and we'll read a little bit more. The Asian country accounted for 28% of all growth worldwide in the 5 years from 2013 to 2018. And more than twice the share, listen to this good, more than twice the share of the United States, according to the International Monetary Fund. Now, that was reported in 2019, okay? And if we see that in 2019, and America's debt has ballooned out of this world, and her economy has stalled. As a matter of fact, it's in a downward spiral. And anyone with common sense can see that. Well, if that is the case, and China is the only positive growth country, and back then, she accounted for more than twice of what America did. What do you think she accounts for now? And how in the hell can America be the economic engine to the global economy if China is the only positive growing economy? And back then, when other economies were so-called positive, China was still twice as powerful as the United States, according to the IMF. I'm just asking, common sense. I'm asking you this. So I'm going to bring Rashid in. I'm going to ask Rashid. Maybe he can enlighten me. Maybe I'm not seeing something. Maybe 1 and 1 no longer equals 2, or maybe 1 and 1 now equals 35. You tell me, Rashid.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you that he's going on his way out. That's all that shows you, brother. That he's going on his way out. His economy and everything.
I'm losing you. I'm losing you. When you get back in, I'll mute you until you get back in. Let's see. I think there you go. There you go. I unmuted you. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
China got 1.5 billion people, about 5 times as many people as America, and they work together. They ain't got America's divided. Half the people want Trump, half the people want Biden. That ain't the way over in China. Everybody working together. And all of those other little countries, Vietnam, Singapore, they feed into that massive global manufacturing hub over there in China. It's an economic behemoth that can't be stopped.
That's right.
It cannot be stopped. And now they got Russia's military behind them. They're unstoppable. And the West is the little engine that could. It's sitting up here talking about how great I am. I'm real great. And everybody looking down at it and say, yeah, you great, all right. No, he can't be stopped. And this is what we're talking about. He don't want to give up his rulership, but he's being forced to give up his rulership because he don't have the economic power. Listen once again. Your currency is only valuable if you got something backing. China and Russia and Iran and the rest of them got gold. What do America have? Nothing. And that was about maybe two weeks ago when they said that China, Putin made the gold exchange say that they're gonna buy you. You got to have the actual gold, no more paper gold, no more, right? That you got to have the gold. If you say you got some gold, we got to see it. Ain't nobody can send up no letter and say, okay, I got more gold than God. Where's it at? But don't worry about it. I say I got it. Now they got to show it. And that means that America, the gold is going to start, because that gold has always been money throughout the history, right? It's always, paper currency lasts, what they say, about 60 years and then it dies? Something like that. Well, he don't have no gold. You can't be getting all of that, them container ship loads of goods from them other countries, from China and them, and they don't ask for nothing in return. They got to give them people something other than paper money. So she has nothing. And then all of the people around China, or maybe 80 to 90% of the goods around the world, China produces. How are you going to stop that? There's no way you can stop it, right?
Right.
So she's on the losing end, and she's very angry, and that makes her dangerous.
And also,
very dangerous.
Also, don't forget this, that the sanctions that Trump enacted against China, the American people are actually paying the cost for it. They are actually paying the taxes on that. Are you there? We lost him for a second. Maybe he'll get right back in. Yeah. So, what are you to do when a nation has your debt? The nation has gold. The nation has instituted institutions that rival the Western nations. See, China didn't do like Gaddafi. China did not do like the other nations.
They're a little bit smarter. They were a little bit smarter.
What China did, they bided their time. They built institutions that would look like they complemented the Western institutions, but they would also be empowered, if need be, to go it alone. So they built their own SWIFT system. They built their own World Bank with the AAIB Bank. They built their own BRICS Bank. They started bilateral swap agreements to introduce the yuan into other countries. And now the yuan is actually the currency that is used and the currency of choice with the Asian nations, the ASEANS, the Asians, not Asian, like we're talking about like nations and Asians. We're talking about the organization. That the yuan or the renminbi is the currency that is most used there. And China signs the RCEP. Yeah, we can hear you. China signs the RCEP agreement. Yeah, I'm here. Hold on one second. Hold on. China signs the RCEP agreement. And then it becomes the largest trade agreement in the world, right? And these countries in Asia are already swapping with China when it comes to the currency. And now the trade agreement is only solidifying and submitting China's footprint all across Asia. And this is what is stoking tension with America. And this is why America now is willing or is saying that she is going to redeploy 60 to 70% of her military assets to the Asian sphere of the world. Now think about this. What if China said? What if China said this? Hold on one second, but I'm gonna bring it back. Hold on one second. What if China says this? That we will no longer have most of our troops within our borders. We are now deploying. And China has the largest Navy in the world now, right? And they have one of the largest air forces in the world. What if China said we're going to redeploy 60 to 70% of our naval forces, our missile forces, and our air forces to the Caribbean, to Venezuela, to Mexico, to Cuba, but it's not aimed at America. We're not aiming our missiles and stuff at America. We're just redeploying there just in case something gets out of line. And we are trying to protect the freedom of navigation in the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans. What do you think the reaction of America would be? I'm asking. You can answer that, Rashid, if you would like.
Bad mistake. You're going in another man's house. Mm-hmm. He might have traps laid all around his house. As you said, as we said before, it's billions of them over there. They can lose 500 million men and still come out on top. It's real silly. But then again, this is what an arrogant bully can do. He can, like what they said that a saying is, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
He want to nail. He want to hit everything that he thinks going to put him on top. And when he go in there against that dragon, he gonna get a lesson that he's never been taught before on the planet Earth. That Chinese is gonna eat him alive over there.
And listen, America talks about America. It's
going to be a massacre.
Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. America always talks about national security, but she never views other people as needing their own security. She infringes upon their spheres of influence. She infringes upon their territorial sovereignty, their economic sovereignty, their political sovereignty, always talking about democracy. Remember, the clip that I played you said that this was a worldwide poll, and most of the people saw America as the greatest threat to democracy. So how the hell can she be the defender of democracy when the world sees her as the greatest threat to democracy? Now, as I say that, I said that to get to this. She's always talking about national security. There's an old saying, he who defends everything defends nothing. You leave your home base exposed.
That's right.
And this is what is going on with America. Right. And she's spending billions and billions and billions of dollars that she don't have. I was reading something, and it was on what is it? Anti-Empire. And I'm gonna put the the picture of it up there so that everybody can see this, because it was hilarious to me. The picture itself, it was hilarious, especially when they talked about the headline, because I knew what they were talking about, and I knew the insanity of America's policies of investing more and more money that she doesn't have into weapon systems that have not been proven. But I'm going to share it with you. Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me share screen. Here we are right here. Hold on 1 second, everyone. It should be up on your screen right now. Right now.
Got her in derision.
Yeah. And listen, look at that up there. It says, and I want you to see this, U.S. to counter China and win the 21st century by printing up another $250 billion it does not have. And look at that. Look at the picture. It's absolutely amazing. How in the world are you going to win when you're constantly putting yourself? That's this right here. I'm going to be the first one out of the pit, but I keep digging the hole deeper. How in the world does no one see this in American politics? Why does no one see this in the military-industrial complex? Why does no one see this in the average American space of average people, average Joes, or what have you? They have been hit and smitten with derision because common sense is not so common today. And it seems like everybody's thinking is just chaotic and unreal. And they continue to believe the propaganda. I want you to pay close attention to this. I don't know how long this clip is. I'm going to play it because this has everything to do with her spending billions over there. Now, remember that you are mired in debt, okay? Remember that poverty is growing, unemployment has exploded, homelessness is growing, the rent crisis is about to explode, the housing foreclosure is about to explode. All of that is going on as people are just oversaturated with debt in America. And remember why we're talking about this, that America continues to give billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to bribe other nations and give $30 billion to Israel, with Israel asking for another $1 billion or $2 billion, all the while at home.
Next tonight, the election day 100 days away. President Trump returning to the White House late today, facing plunging approval ratings and trouble in key battleground states. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimber.
Tonight, with just 100 days until the November election and the pandemic raging, President Trump is fighting a two-front war. This week, the president acknowledging the severity of the virus, which he repeatedly said would just disappear.
It will probably, unfortunately, get worse before it gets better.
Today, greeting his supporters near his New Jersey golf club, handing out Keep America Great hats without a mask. His likely rival, Joe Biden, slamming President Trump's leadership during the crisis.
I don't think he has any sense of empathy. I don't think he can associate at all.
President Trump trailing Biden in the polls in crucial battleground states, Michigan, Florida, and Arizona, states he carried in 2016. A key issue for voters, economic recovery, with millions of Americans out of work, like Sherry Johnson, a single mother from Yuma, Arizona, who depends on the extra $600 in federal unemployment benefits to support her 2 children. Those checks stopping on Friday.
The original unemployment benefits actually paid people to stay home.
That's not true. You know, there are people that would gladly work, but that $200, that $187 does not cover rent. It doesn't help us eat.
Democrats want to.
Boom. That's the part I wanted. Now, this happened under Trump's administration, right? Now we're seeing a repeat because a lot of you don't pay attention to this. Now they're saying the same thing under Joe Biden's administration. They're saying that people are being paid to stay home, so they're justifying the cut of the benefits for people who are on the edge of losing their houses, their apartments, everything. They're using it. Now, mind you, the reason I brought this up is because they just said that they were going to spend $10 trillion to rearm nuclear weapons. They just said that they were going to invest billions upon billions more in unproven and untested weaponry. And they just said that they were allocating hundreds of billions or more to the military industrial complex. All the while, that the unemployment crisis at that time was roughly what they say 25 million, but has more than doubled today, and they're using the same excuse to put you on your behind by saying that the people are no longer willing to work and they'll rather take a unemployment check. Man, I'm telling you, it is unreal that the people continue to fall for this stuff. What say you about this, Rashid? I want you to make a comment about it, and then I'm going to go to something. I want to read something. Did you hear me,
Can
Rashid?
you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
You there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they be cutting me off so much. I got to keep asking them my own. But what it is, brother, it just shows you that the corruption and the evil of America knows no bounds. She's hollering about what she gonna do and what she gonna do this, that, and the other, and what everybody else is attacking different people and stuff. In America, how many people have China attacked? I missed that one. I didn't think China attacked Iraq, Libya, or Venezuela. I ain't seen China attack nobody. I ain't seen Russia attack nobody. I ain't seen Iran ain't attacked nobody in 300 years, while America attacking somebody every other week, and then hollering about somebody else's evil. So and the people, this dissatisfaction is coming out in the people. That's all that is, brother. It's dissatisfaction. It's almost near 100% dissatisfaction in America.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, that's right.
One side dissatisfied with the other. And I say this. You ain't seen the last of Donald Trump.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He may come in the 2024, and if they take it from him, get ready for a big riot.
Yeah.
Get ready for me. He's not the kind of guy that's going, nor his people going to accept not winning the presidency. What did he say? If I win, it's legitimate. If I lose, they stole it from me.
Yeah.
So you can't even make stuff up, brother.
Yeah. So I want to finish this off, and I want to address, like I was talking about with the unemployment here in America. Yeah, I'm here. The unemployment here with America and the situation that America is now facing economically here at home, because while she invests billions of dollars. Now, mind you, these billions that she's investing, this deficit spending, it's a debt burden that she's putting on so-called future generations, and it's also America borrowing from the same nations that she claimed are her enemies, which is just outrageous. But to show you the depravity of the American government and those who lead the American government, I want to show you. I want to read something to you. I'll bring it to the screen. Just give me a second. So give me a second, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I like for you to see what I'm saying so that you won't have any problems. Okay. So here we are. Right here. It should be up on your screen right now. This is from the Economic Collapse blog. It says inflation is starting to get really crazy, and it is worse than you think. Now stop right there. If inflation is starting to grow, and we have a growing unemployment, and we have a growing debt burden, right? And we have people all over. There was just in my city multiple food drives for people because they said they have never seen it like this since they've been around. Organizations on TV and stuff saying that it's real bad. Well, people have to go, and the organizations are short on food and short on this, and they can only give out for this amount of people and this and that. And you see lines over a mile long to get this stuff, okay? Now, with that going on, and America continually deficit spending, especially when it comes to her wars, her so-called spying, or they put a cute name on spying and call it intelligence, right? Well, I tell you what. And they're borrowing from the same people they were trying to make war with, right? This spells trouble because it's showing you that the backing or or the value of the currency of the American empire is tanking. The headline says again, inflation is starting to get really crazy, and it is worse than you think. When this happens, for those of you who may not understand, when inflation starts crackling, the economy is tanking, and the value of the currency that is used to buy goods in that said country or nation is on the decline. That's common sense, but we don't use sense today. And so common sense is not so common anymore. So I'm going to read, this is my first time reading this too, so I'm reading it to you, okay? It says, inflation is making headlines all over the country, but the mainstream media is not being honest about the true severity of the crisis. We are being told that the official rate of inflation is still in single digits. But what we aren't being told is that the way inflation is calculated has changed dramatically over the years. In fact, according to Forbes, the government has changed the way it calculates inflation more than 20 times over the past 30 years. The rate of inflation directly affects so many other things in our system, and the government would like to keep that number as low as possible. So they tinkered and tinkered with the formula until they got it just where they wanted it. But even with the highly modified formula that they are now using, the rate of inflation still rose at the fastest pace in almost 13 years last month. The Consumer Price Index, which represents a basket including food, energy, groceries, housing costs, and sales across a spectrum of goods, rose 5% from a year earlier. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones had been expecting a gain of 4.7%. The reading represents the biggest CPI gain since the 5.3% increase in August 2008, just before the financial crisis sent the U.S. spiraling into the worst recession since the Depression. We're in a depression. We all remember what happened in the following months, August 28, 2008. Hopefully, we will not have to repeat that. Of course, the truth is that consumer prices are not just rising at a 5% rate in the U.S. or the United States right now. According to John Williams of Shadow Stats, this man does stats on everything, right? If the rate of inflation was still calculated the way that it was back in 1990, it would be above 8% right now. And if the rate of inflation was still calculated the way that it was back in 1980, it would currently be sitting at about 13%. But 5% inflation sure sounds a whole lot better than 13%, doesn't it? One thing that I am keeping a very close eye on is it food inflation. You know that shrinkflation? I'm going to stop right there. You know that shrinkflation that they put on you. They tell you that less is better. So instead of you going into the store buying a big gallon of Tide for $5 or $7, you go in there and buy a little bag of pods with like 7 to 10 in it, and you're paying $20, $25 for it. And they tell you this is more powerful than the detergent. This has extra strength and all of this stuff. This is shrinkflation. When you go in there and when you used to could buy a 16-ounce can for 25 cents or 50 cents, and now you're buying a 12-ounce for $1.85. This is shrinkflation. When the boxes get narrower and get shorter, when the packaging is smaller, or when you used to could get, like I know a lot of you people live and die off ramen noodles. And there was a point I remember when I had never even known what ramen noodles was when I was like in my teens, right? And it was this one neighbor of ours, and she used to go and get them all the time. This was 80s, something like that, in the 80s, early 80s. And so at that time, she was buying ramen noodles for 2 to 3 cents per pack. 2 to 3 cents per pack. And now you get 4 to 5 packs for $1. If that is not inflation, you tell me what is. Huh? But you don't pay attention to this. Look at the prices when you go out to eat. Luckily, I don't eat that fast food stuff like that. But look at the prices of fast food. If you go to McDonald's, I remember I went to McDonald's to get something for I believe it was my sister, because I was on my way over there, and I believe she asked me. And I think when I got there, it was 4 cheeseburgers, and this is no mistake because I think this happened last week. It was 4 cheeseburgers, right? 3 small fries and a milkshake. And if I'm not mistaken, it was either $28 or $31 here. I'm not mistaken. And I almost pulled out of the drive-thru. I'm telling you, I almost pulled out of the drive-thru. I was like, what in the world? But this is the inflation that you're not paying attention to. When you go and you have to buy this stuff and it costs more money. Some of you broke people are so proud. I paid $300 for my shoes. You're a fool. I paid $89 for a pair of pants. You're a fool. Because if you could have got the same quality for a cheaper price, why didn't you? You're a fool. But let's go further. And this is what I'm telling you. The shrinkflation. Pay attention to the prices. Pay attention to what you used to could get, right? And then look at how I remember growing up, we used to have something, what was it called? It wasn't Now and Laters. It was Kits. Kits. That's what they were called, Kits. They preceded Now and Laters. They were called Kits. And those things were huge. And you got a pack of them for like, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was either 3 cents or 5 cents. And now a pack of Now and Laters and they're smaller, like a kit was like 2 or 3 times the size of that. And the Now and Later, you get 5 or 6 in there, I believe. And it's like a quarter or 30 cents or something. Do you not see how they are constantly trying to mask inflation to hide the decline of the value of the currency, to hide the declining power economically of America? I'm going to read this. I'm going to bring Rashid in after I finish reading this, and then we're going to close up because we've had you here for an hour. The first 15 minutes, it was technical glitches and stuff like that, but I won't hold you too much longer. I just want to finish this off, okay? He goes further and says, one thing that I'm keeping a very close eye on is food inflation. Earlier today, I came across a story from one CBS affiliate in which they used the term sticker shock to describe what consumers are now experiencing at the grocery store. You may have noticed a significant jump in prices at the grocery store. More and more grocery shoppers are experiencing sticker shock every day. The price of food, especially meat, fruit, and vegetables, is going up. If prices were increasing at just a 5% annual rate, that wouldn't be a big deal. Sadly, the reality is much worse than that. And that is especially true for meat prices. It's according to one deli owner, the true rate of inflation for meat is probably closer to 20 or 30%. Jeff Cohen, a deli owner and meat wholesaler, said those factors are making the price of meat out of control. They said on national news it's 10%, but that's not true. It's probably closer to 20 or 30%, Cohen said. Now, with that said, I just thought about something. We'll try to do another live stream this week, just out of the blue, continuing on where we left off with this. And we'll go into the droughts, the flooding, the bankrupted farms, and how hunger is coming to America, and the decline of the currency, and the political ineptitude that encompass all of this stuff. So on that note, I'm going to close off on that. I'm going to let Rashid have a few parting words, and then we'll close out and we'll come back sometime this week, maybe tomorrow, or maybe I think Sunday will be fine. Either Sunday or Monday, we come back and do a live stream. Rashid, you have any parting words before we leave?
On the radio, they was talking about that. It's a news station out here, KNX 1070. They was calling it downside when they was giving You're getting the same price for less. And they have about maybe 30 minutes on talking about how things that you used to buy that you can't buy now, you can buy for the same price, but the package is smaller. Like you said, it's the inflation is grappling them, and everybody knows gas is, well, out here where I'm at, California, gas is $4 and something. $4 and some cents a gallon, and they say that it's about to hit $5 a gallon. And everybody else ain't as high, but it ain't going down. It ain't going down.
So on that note, all right. So on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Those of you who will join us later on the replay, we're going to have to take the video down off of YouTube to edit it, and it'll be back up on YouTube. Because if we don't, we'll get, like, they don't give us single strikes anymore. They give us double strikes, and then they suspend us. Then after the suspension, they ban us. We have comments on here. I see CC talking about they're substituting, adding more ice to my smoothies with the same price. Babylon has fallen in 1 hour. I see that. That's right. And he said about gas in his area or her area, it says $2.79. I'm telling you, it is just, it's ridiculous. We see the fall. Please, everyone, listen, all of you all join us. I'll try to do another live stream tomorrow, or I think it'll be tomorrow. Just sign up. Please tell other people to go and sign up to the Red Pill Diaries on our YouTube page. It's all one word, the Red Pill Diaries. It's the one with the guy Lawrence Fishburne when he was in the Matrix with the two pills in his hand, the red and the blue pill. That's our channel. Also, if you get a chance, go subscribe to our Patreon page. We have a lot of content that just came out. We're having a lot of more content. We have a lot of guests coming up soon also that it will be exclusively for Patreon. And it's only $3 a month. We have two tiers, a $3 and a $7 tier. Try it, read the articles, look at the videos, look at all of the information we're giving. We're giving you stuff that's not out on the news, and because we have sources that come in constantly telling us certain things that are breaking. And we want to share that with you. And to keep it going, we only offer $3 to sign up. You spend that on a cheeseburger. As I was telling you at McDonald's, you spend $3. You telling me that you cannot support a truth movement for $3 a month? Come on, don't be like that. Anyway, as I always say, stay strong, stay true, stay righteous. And till we next speak again, I love you all, but know that God will always love you best. I love you, Mama. I'm out.